In the grim darkness of the far future, where countless wars scar the galaxy and ancient rivalries echo across the stars, one story stands apart. It is whispered in shadowed corners of the Imperium, debated in the halls of scholars, and immortalized in fragments of forgotten lore. This is not merely a tale of war, nor a record of conquest. It is the chronicle of a duel, a clash so legendary, so pivotal, that its reverberations can still be felt in the 41st millennium. To understand this duel, we must first understand the nature of the galaxy it unfolded within. A galaxy teeming with life yet poisoned by constant conflict. Civilizations rise and fall like fleeting sparks against the endless void. Here, the line between heroism and villainy blurs, where power is often pursued at the expense of countless lives. It is a galaxy ruled not by reason, but by belief, where gods walk among mortals and ancient technologies are wielded as instruments of divine retribution. Yet, among the billions who inhabit this endless cosmos, there are those whose actions transcend even the mightiest of armies or the grandest of empires. These are individuals whose choices alter the course of history, whose deeds are etched into the fabric of time. They become legends, and their legacies endure long after the dust of their battles has settled. The duel we explore today is one such moment, a singular event where two such figures collided, their fates bound together by destiny, and their blades crossing in a symphony of destruction. The story of this duel is not merely one of violence, but of ideals, of vengeance, and of purpose. It is a confrontation born from centuries of tension, ignited by personal stakes, and shaped by forces far beyond the comprehension of mortal beings. It is a tale of honor and betrayal, of sacrifice and ambition, of despair and hope. To set the stage, we must look beyond the immediate conflict and delve into the nature of the galaxy's very existence. We stand at the precipice of an epoch where the boundaries of reality are fragile and the forces that govern the cosmos are in constant flux. In such an environment, every choice, every clash, and every duel carries the potential to tip the scales of fate. As we embark on this journey, we will unravel the intricate web of events that led to this duel, explore the lives of those who participated, and uncover the profound consequences it wrought upon the galaxy. This is not just a story of two combatants. It is the story of a moment when the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, awaiting the outcome of a confrontation that would shape its future. The duel's participants were not merely individuals. They were avatars of their respective civilizations, embodiments of the philosophies and powers that define the galaxy's endless struggle. Each came from a lineage of warriors, forged by the unyielding crucible of war, each representing a pinnacle of martial prowess and ideological devotion. They were champions chosen not only for their physical might, but for their symbolic significance in a galaxy where survival often hinges on the strength of belief. From the Imperium of Man emerged a figure who bore the weight of humanity's ambition and desperation. Clad in ancient armor imbued with forgotten technologies, this warrior was a living weapon, honed through countless battles to serve as the vanguard of the Emperor's will. Their presence on the battlefield was a beacon of hope and an instrument of fear, a reminder of the Imperium's relentless drive to dominate and endure, no matter the cost. Representing the pinnacle of human potential, their role in this duel would exemplify the indomitable spirit of mankind in its eternal quest for survival. The opposing force came from the Eldar, a race whose history predates the rise of humanity by millennia. This champion was a master of both finesse and brutality, wielding weapons of incomparable elegance and lethality. Their skill was unmatched, refined over centuries of ceaseless conflict. They fought not just with physical precision, but with the clairvoyant insight their race is known for, making every strike seem predestined. In this duel, they carried the weight of their people's tragic history and their desperate hope for redemption, embodying the paradox of a race both ancient and fragile, wise yet haunted by its own hubris. Representing the raw savagery of the galaxy, the Orcs provided a warrior who epitomized brute strength and unrelenting ferocity. This combatant was less a soldier and more a living storm of violence, driven by an insatiable lust for battle. Armed with crudely powerful weapons and an unshakable belief in their own invincibility, this champion was the embodiment of orcish ideology. Might makes right. For the orcs, every confrontation is a chance to revel in destruction, and this duel was no exception. To their kind, victory was less about triumph and more about the sheer joy of combat. The enigmatic Necrons sent forth a champion whose ancient intellect and technological supremacy set them apart from the more organic contenders. Encased in an impervious metallic body, this warrior was a blend of implacable logic and cold, calculated aggression. Their role in the duel was to demonstrate the relentless, timeless resolve of a race that seeks to reclaim the galaxy from the living. They fought with a precision born of eons of warfare, each move calculated to ensure maximum efficiency and inevitable success. Not to be outdone, the Tau introduced a champion from their fire caste, a figure who embodied the collective unity and innovative warfare of their kind. Equipped with cutting-edge weaponry and supported by the advanced tactics of their empire, this warrior represented a different kind of strength, the strength of cohesion and technological ingenuity. Unlike their counterparts, whose motivations were deeply personal or primal, this combatant fought for a cause larger than themselves, the vision of a galaxy united under the Tau's banner of the greater good. The Tyranids, the galaxy's apex predators, contributed a monstrous combatant that defied comprehension. This living weapon was not an individual, but a manifestation of the hive mind's insatiable hunger, a biological construct engineered for a single purpose: destruction. Possessing a terrifying combination of brute strength, regenerative abilities, and bioadaptability, this combatant was an embodiment of evolutionary perfection, a harbinger of the Tyranids' relentless consumption of all life. Even chaos, the ever-present force of corruption and madness, played its part. Its representative was a twisted reflection of what once might have been a noble warrior, now warped into a horrifying amalgamation of power and malevolence. Infused with the energies of the warp and driven by the whispers of dark gods, this champion was a vessel of chaos's eternal desire to unmake and remake reality according to its chaotic whims. These champions were more than warriors. They were symbols of their faction's ideologies and the relentless struggle for dominance in a galaxy that knows no peace. Their clash would not only determine the outcome of a single conflict, but serve as a microcosm of the galaxy's perpetual war, an encapsulation of the forces that shape its destiny. Each represented a vision of the galaxy's future, whether through unity, annihilation, chaos, or the preservation of a dying legacy. Together, they stood on the precipice of history, their fates intertwined in a moment that would echo across the stars for millennia to come. The tradition of duels stretches back to the earliest days of recorded galactic history, long before humanity first looked to the stars. Across countless civilizations, the duel emerged as a primal form of conflict resolution, a focused battle that distilled the chaos of war into a single moment. While the specifics of these rituals varied from one species to another, the core concept remained consistent. Two individuals standing as representatives of their factions, their clash deciding the course of events far larger than themselves. The first known duels in the galaxy were born out of necessity. Before the rise of empires and advanced technology, fledgling civilizations faced resource scarcity, territorial disputes, and the instinctual drive to dominate. Among the ancient species, early conflicts often escalated into full-scale wars, but there were moments when mutual destruction was too great a risk. In such times, duels became a means to settle disputes while preserving the larger populations. This was particularly true among those species who valued martial honor or believed in the sanctity of single combat as a divine or cultural ideal. For the Eldar, whose ancient empire predates most other known civilizations, dueling was both an art form and a spiritual act. Even in their distant past, their champions were chosen not merely for strength, but for their ability to embody the essence of their race's mastery over war and aesthetics. Their duels were as much about showcasing perfection as they were about determining an outcome, blending elegance with lethality in ways that echoed their complex culture. The orcs, on the other hand, have always approached dueling with an entirely different mindset. For them, a duel is not a solemn ritual, but a natural expression of their insatiable need for combat. Among their earliest tribal conflicts, leaders settled disputes by bashing one another into submission, often escalating these brutal encounters into spectacles of unrelenting violence. Over time, their love for such contests became a cornerstone of their society, with the strongest always rising to the top through sheer force and tenacity. Humanity's relationship with dueling evolved differently, shaped by the fragmented histories of ancient Terra. In the Age of Strife, as mankind struggled against itself and the galaxy, dueling became both a way to settle disputes within divided factions and a tool to display dominance. Even as humanity united under larger banners, the tradition persisted, eventually evolving into a means of proving one's worth in battle and ensuring the survival of the strongest. For the Necrontyr, duels were originally tied to their internal conflicts, driven by their fractious dynasties. Their early duels were as much about political maneuvering as physical confrontation, often serving to establish dominance within their rigid hierarchies. Even after their transformation into the Necrons, remnants of this tradition persisted, now infused with their cold logic and unyielding determination to reclaim the galaxy. Among the younger species, such as the Tau, dueling was a concept largely foreign to their communal mindset. However, as their empire expanded and encountered the more warlike species of the galaxy, they began to adopt variations of the practice, using duels as a means to minimize casualties during territorial disputes. This adaptation was less about tradition and more about pragmatism, reflecting their focus on efficiency and collective well-being. The introduction of chaos into the galaxy added an entirely new dimension to dueling. For those touched by the warp, duels became not only a contest of physical might, but also a battle of wills, with the energies of the immaterium amplifying the stakes. These confrontations were not bound by the rules of mortal combat. Instead, they became arenas where reality itself twisted under the influence of demonic forces, further emphasizing the unpredictability and danger of such clashes. The evolution of dueling was not merely a reflection of individual civilizations, but also of the galaxy's shifting dynamics. As the scale of war grew, so too did the stakes of these encounters. Over time, duels transformed from isolated events into pivotal moments that could shape the destiny of entire species. By the time of the events leading to the most legendary duel in the galaxy, the tradition of single combat had become an integral part of galactic warfare, a means to embody the ideologies and ambitions of the combatants' respective factions. What made this particular duel so extraordinary was not just the caliber of its participants, but the circumstances that demanded it. The galaxy was already ablaze with conflict, and the clash that culminated in this legendary moment was preceded by decades of escalating tensions. Political maneuvering, territorial expansion, and deeply personal vendettas all played a role, setting the stage for a confrontation that would become the stuff of legend. The duel itself was not merely an outcome but a convergence of countless factors, each contributing to a moment that would resonate across time and space. As the galaxy turned its collective gaze to this confrontation, it was clear that this would not be just another battle. It would be a defining moment. The traditions of dueling, shaped by eons of conflict and culture, had reached their zenith, culminating in an event that would forever alter the course of history. This was not simply a clash of individuals. It was the culmination of the galaxy's enduring struggle, encapsulated in a single decisive act. Throughout the galaxy's tumultuous history, countless duels have taken place that shaped the course of civilizations, inspired legends, and demonstrated the might of their combatants. While the galaxy is defined by war on a grand scale, These moments of single combat have provided clarity amid chaos, offering glimpses into the ideologies, tactics, and emotions that drive its inhabitants. One of the earliest recorded legendary duels occurred during the wars of the Necron against the Old Ones. Amidst their sprawling galactic conflict, a battle between two champions became a symbol of the Necron's defiance against their creators. The Necron warrior, equipped with their advanced technology, stood against one of the Old Ones' bioengineered defenders, a creature designed to protect their progeny. The duel was a brutal display of raw technological might against ancient biological engineering, a clash that highlighted the burgeoning Necron rebellion against their perceived oppressors. Millennia later, during the Age of Strife, the fractured human factions on Terra experienced duels that cemented alliances or destroyed them. One infamous duel saw two rival warlords vying for control of a vital stronghold in Terra's western hemisphere. Their contest, fought with primitive yet deadly weapons scavenged from the ruins of advanced civilizations, ended with a single decisive blow. The victor's triumph united several warring tribes, forming the foundation for one of the alliances that later supported humanity's unification. This event underscored the desperate conditions of the Age of Strife and the importance of individuals in shaping humanity's fragmented destiny. The Orcs, ever drawn to the thrill of battle, are no strangers to legendary duels. One such event unfolded when two mighty war bosses, both claiming dominion over the same sector, clashed to settle their dispute. Known as the Great Bash of Gork's Gullet, this battle raged for days, drawing thousands of orcs as spectators. Each combatant wielded crude yet devastating weapons, from massive power claws to explosive ordnance strapped to their backs. The duel ended with a devastating charge that collapsed the arena they fought in, leaving both war bosses presumed dead. Yet, their sacrifice unified the squabbling tribes into a wah that swept through the region, carving a bloody path that lasted decades. Another significant duel occurred during the War in Heaven, a conflict between the Eldar and the Necrons. In one moment etched into Eldar memory, a warrior from the Aspect Shrines faced a Necron lord in a battle that embodied the unending struggle between their races. Armed with weapons of psychic energy and honed by centuries of training, the Eldar warrior danced through the battlefield, striking with precision. The Necron lord, however, was relentless, its undying form absorbing what would have been fatal blows to any organic opponent. Their duel became the stuff of legend for the Eldar, representing their defiance against what they viewed as the soulless tyranny of their ancient enemies. During the Great Crusade, duels between leaders of humanity's expanding legions became more than mere contests of strength. They were declarations of dominance or acts of justice. One such duel, fought between two renowned military leaders who clashed over territorial disputes, became the deciding factor in the fate of an entire subsector. The victor, wielding a relic blade said to have been forged during the Dark Age of technology, secured humanity's rule over the contested region and left a legacy of valor that inspired generations of warriors. The Tau, though less inclined towards single combat, have also contributed moments of dueling legend. In one instance, a fire warrior commander faced off against an opponent from a human renegade faction. The duel was not fought with brute strength, but with precise tactics and advanced weaponry. The Tau commander's innovative use of their battlesuit's capabilities turned the tide of the confrontation, demonstrating the Tau's mastery of technology and strategy. The victory not only solidified the Tau's hold on the region, but also served as a lesson in their ability to adapt to the unpredictable nature of galactic warfare. The forces of chaos, too, have perpetuated tales of legendary duels. One particularly infamous duel occurred when a champion of Khorne encountered a rival devoted to Tzeentch. The battlefield became a theater of clashing ideologies, raw, unrelenting bloodlust against calculated, manipulative cunning. The combatants' powers manifested in ways that twisted the fabric of reality around them, creating a spectacle that terrified even the battle-hardened observers. Though the duel's victor was ultimately subsumed by their patron's will, The memory of their confrontation served as a grim reminder of Chaos's ever-present influence. Even the Tyranids, driven by the hive mind's singular purpose, have produced moments of exceptional single combat. One such duel occurred during a planet's final hours, where a human champion faced a monstrous bioform bred explicitly for close-quarters combat. Armed with relics of ancient power, the human warrior held their ground, buying precious time for their people to evacuate. Though they ultimately fell to the Tyranids' overwhelming strength, their defiance became a rallying cry for the survivors, a testament to the resilience of those who dare to stand against annihilation. These duels, scattered across time and space, are testaments to the individuals who rise above the masses to alter the course of history. Each was shaped by unique circumstances and motivations, yet all share the common thread of embodying the larger struggles that define the galaxy. While these events are overshadowed by the most legendary duel, their stories remain crucial in understanding the galaxy's tapestry of conflict and the indomitable spirit of its champions. The galaxy had seen countless duels, but none would ever rival the sheer magnitude, symbolism, and consequence of the clash that unfolded in the ruins of a shattered star fortress orbiting a dying sun. This duel was not just a meeting of two individuals, but the culmination of centuries of tension, ambition, and ideological conflict. The participants represented the zenith of power within their respective realms, and their confrontation marked a turning point, not just for their factions, but for the galaxy itself. The duel took place amidst the devastation of a war that had raged across an entire sector. The Star Fortress, once a bastion of technological and strategic significance, had been reduced to little more than a graveyard of broken machinery and drifting debris. It was here, in the heart of the wreckage, that the two combatants faced each other, surrounded by the silent void of space and the eerie glow of the dying sun casting long, flickering shadows. One warrior, representing the Imperium of Man, was clad in armor that shimmered with the light of ancient relics, each plate etched with sigils of protection and honor. Their weapon was a blade of unparalleled craftsmanship, said to have been forged during humanity's lost golden age. This blade, a fusion of technology and artistry, pulsed with energy, its edge capable of cleaving through even the most formidable defenses. They were a figure of unshakable resolve, carrying the weight of their people's survival and faith in every strike. Opposing them was a champion from the forces of chaos, a being whose form was a grotesque blend of mortal and demonic. Their armor, a patchwork of corrupted materials and warp-forged enhancements, oozed malevolence. Their weapon, a massive, jagged axe, dripped with the essence of the immaterium, each swing accompanied by howling echoes of souls trapped within its blade. This figure fought not for survival or legacy, but for the unmaking of order, driven by the promises of power whispered by the dark gods. The duel began not with words, but with action. Their first clash sent shockwaves rippling through the remains of the fortress, scattering debris and igniting fires in the oxygen-deprived environment. Each strike was an event in itself, the sheer force behind their blows bending steel and shattering stone. The two warriors moved with a speed and precision that belied their immense size and power, their battle a blur of motion against the backdrop of the decaying station. As the fight progressed, it became clear that this was not merely a contest of strength or skill. The duel was a struggle of wills, each combatant drawing upon their inner reserves of determination and belief. The champion of humanity fought with the conviction of 1,000,000 prayers, their every action driven by the hope and desperation of a galaxy teetering on the brink. Their chaos counterpart, in contrast, was a tempest of fury and ambition, their strikes fueled by the boundless energy of the warp and the insatiable hunger of their patron. The turning point came when the Imperium's champion, wounded and driven to the edge of exhaustion, unleashed a final, desperate maneuver. With their blade glowing brighter than ever before, they channeled the combined power of their relic weapon and their unyielding spirit into a strike aimed not at their opponent's body, but at the corrupted essence that sustained them. The blade cut through the air, slicing into the fabric of reality itself, severing the connection between the Chaos Champion and their patron. In that moment, the battlefield shifted. The Chaos Champions staggered, their form destabilizing as the dark energy sustaining them began to unravel. Yet, even in their weakened state, they launched one final attack, their axe arcing toward the Imperium's champion with devastating force. The blow landed, cleaving through armor and flesh, but it was too late. The Chaos Champion's form collapsed into nothingness, their essence scattered across the warp. The victor, though gravely wounded, remained standing. Their triumph was not without cost, as the wounds inflicted during the battle would forever mark them. But their victory was a beacon of hope for the Imperium, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, the light of humanity could prevail. This duel would be remembered for millennia, its details passed down in tales, its combatants immortalized in legend. The ruins of the Star Fortress became a site of pilgrimage, and the blade that struck the decisive blow was enshrined as a symbol of the Imperium's resilience. Yet, even as the story was celebrated, its consequences rippled across the galaxy, setting into motion events that would shape the future of every faction involved. This was not merely a duel, but a moment where the galaxy itself seemed to pause, bearing witness to an act of unparalleled courage and conviction. The aftermath of the legendary duel rippled across the galaxy, leaving an indelible mark on civilizations, ideologies, and the balance of power. While the duel itself was fought between two individuals, its consequences reached far beyond the battlefield, reshaping the dynamics of a galaxy already teetering on the edge of chaos. For the Imperium of Man, the victory became an enduring symbol of resilience and divine favor. News of the duel spread rapidly through astropathic channels, though distorted and exaggerated as it passed between systems. It was heralded as a moment of divine intervention, proof that the Imperium's struggle against darkness was not in vain. Ecclesiarchal authorities seized upon the event, weaving it into sermons and propagating tales that elevated the champion to near-mythical status. Entire planetary populations turned to faith with renewed fervor, bolstering the Imperium's spiritual resolve during one of its most desperate eras. The duel also reinvigorated morale among the Imperium's military forces. Soldiers on the front lines, battered by ceaseless campaigns, found inspiration in the tale of the champion's sacrifice and triumph. Recruitment surged as countless men and women sought to emulate the hero, their efforts strengthening the Imperium's war machine. At the same time, the relic weapon used in the duel became a symbol of unity, traveling to key worlds where it was paraded as a beacon of hope and a reminder of humanity's unbreakable will. However, the cost of the duel was not lost on the Imperium. The Star Fortress, a vital strategic asset, had been left in ruins, its advanced technology irreparably damaged. The loss destabilized the region, leaving it vulnerable to opportunistic Xenos incursions and chaos uprisings. Administrative officials struggled to maintain order in the affected systems, diverting resources from other fronts to address the vacuum left in the duel's wake. The scars left by the conflict, both physical and political, became a constant reminder of the fragile balance the Imperium maintained in its fight for survival. For the forces of chaos, the loss was both a humiliation and a call to arms. The defeat of their champion disrupted the Dark God's plans in the region, their influence temporarily weakened as mortal and demonic followers scattered. Yet, within the warp, the Chaos Gods seethed with fury, channeling their rage into new schemes and champions. The duel became a rallying cry for the agents of chaos, a reminder of their vulnerability, but also a source of renewed purpose. Cults and war bands across the galaxy sought to avenge the fallen champion, their activities escalating into a wave of terror that destabilized dozens of systems. Other factions in the galaxy also took notice. The Eldar, ever watchful of events that could alter the threads of fate, interpreted the duel as a dangerous shift in the balance of power. Their seers debated its implications, some arguing that humanity's victory had delayed an inevitable downfall, while others warned that it had sown the seeds of a catastrophe yet to come. Eldar war hosts adjusted their strategies, avoiding direct confrontation with the Imperium in favor of manipulating events from the shadows to steer the galaxy toward their own survival. The Orcs, meanwhile, viewed the duel as an irresistible source of inspiration. Orcish war bosses spread tales of the battle, often wildly embellished to suit their love of spectacle. The story fueled a surge in Wah activity as mobs of orcs sought to recreate the legendary fight in their own violent and chaotic way. While this posed a new threat to the Imperium, it also led to unpredictable clashes between orcs and other factions, inadvertently diverting pressure from some of the galaxy's most beleaguered regions. The Necrons, ever pragmatic and calculating, saw the duel as an opportunity to assess the capabilities of their rivals. Dynasties across the galaxy began probing weakened systems, exploiting the Imperium's diverted resources to expand their territories. At the same time, Necron leaders debated the implications of humanity's resilience, some seeing it as a potential threat, while others dismissed it as a fleeting anomaly. The Tau Empire, though far removed from the duel's epicenter, was not immune to its influence. The story reached the Tau through human defectors and rogue traders, sparking debates among the ethereal caste about the Imperium's ideological strength. The duel was analyzed as a case study in the psychological and symbolic aspects of warfare, with the Tau seeking to adapt their own tactics to account for the Imperium's ability to inspire loyalty and fanaticism, even in the face of overwhelming odds. For the Tyranids, the duel was inconsequential in the traditional sense, but held significance in how it shaped the galaxy's responses. As factions diverted resources to address the duel's aftermath, the Tyranid hive fleets exploited the resulting vulnerabilities, accelerating their consumption of unprotected worlds. The duel's legacy inadvertently contributed to the further spread of the Tyranid menace, as the galaxy's divided attention left critical systems exposed. The duel also had profound cultural and philosophical effects. Across the galaxy, scholars, poets, and artists immortalized the event, each interpretation adding layers to its mythos. For some, it was a tale of hope. For others, a cautionary example of the costs of war. It became a story told to children, a rallying cry for warriors, and a subject of study for strategists. The duel transcended its immediate context, becoming a universal symbol of conflict, sacrifice, and the fragile nature of existence in a galaxy perpetually at war. In the end, the duel's impact was as vast and multifaceted as the galaxy itself. It reshaped alliances, altered strategies, and inspired countless acts of heroism and villainy. It stood as a stark reminder that even the smallest of actions, one warrior standing against another, could reverberate through time, shaping the destinies of civilizations and the course of galactic history. The figures connected to the most legendary duel in the galaxy were far more than combatants. They were monumental forces shaped by their experiences, defined by their choices, and destined to collide in a moment that transcended the boundaries of mortal conflict. Each carried a legacy that rippled far beyond the duel itself, their lives shaped by both triumphs and flaws that made them compelling and unforgettable. The first figure, the champion of the Imperium, was a warrior forged in the crucible of unending war. From an early age, they displayed unparalleled skill and discipline, rising through the ranks not by ambition, but by sheer merit. They were known for their tactical brilliance and unshakable resolve, traits that earned them the respect and loyalty of those who served under their command. Despite their strengths, they were not without vulnerability. The burden of leadership weighed heavily upon them, and they were haunted by the lives lost under their watch. This inner conflict fueled their drive to protect humanity, even at great personal cost, making them a paradoxical figure of both unyielding strength and quiet sorrow. Their weapon of choice, a relic blade of ancient origin, symbolized their connection to humanity's forgotten past and their role as its defender. The blade was more than a tool of war. It was a testament to their unwavering belief in the Imperium's mission. This belief, while a source of strength, also exposed them to moments of doubt as they wrestled with the moral compromises demanded by their duty. Their greatest strength was their ability to inspire others, not through rhetoric, but by their actions. They were a living embodiment of the Imperium's resilience, a beacon of hope in the face of darkness. Opposing them was the champion of chaos, a being whose life had taken a vastly different path. Once a figure of great promise and potential, they had succumbed to the seductive whispers of the warp, trading their humanity for power beyond comprehension. Their transformation was both physical and psychological, their mortal form twisted into a terrifying amalgam of flesh and demonic essence. This champion was a master manipulator, wielding their charisma and cunning to rally followers and sow discord among their enemies. What set them apart was their understanding of fear, not merely as an emotion, but as a weapon. They thrived on exploiting the weaknesses of others, using their knowledge of mortal frailty to break their opponents before the first blow was struck. Yet, their greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. The corruption that empowered them came with a price, a fractured mind constantly at war with the demonic forces within. This internal conflict occasionally left them vulnerable, as moments of clarity reminded them of what they had sacrificed for power. Their weapon, a massive rune-encrusted axe, was a physical manifestation of their pact with the dark gods. The weapon seemed almost alive, its blade humming with the trapped souls of those it had slain. Each swing carried the weight of their ambition and fury, but it also served as a reminder of their dependence on the warp. Despite their formidable presence, they harbored a deep insecurity, driven by the fear of losing the favor of the gods they served. While the duel itself was fought by these two champions, other figures played crucial roles in shaping the events that led to their confrontation. Among them was a revered strategist from the Imperium, whose foresight and planning allowed humanity's forces to hold the line long enough to enable the duel to occur. This individual was a stark contrast to the Imperium's champion, relying on intellect rather than physical prowess. Known for their cold pragmatism, they were willing to make harsh decisions to ensure victory, earning them a reputation as both a savior and a figure of controversy. From the ranks of chaos, a sorcerer of immense power had orchestrated much of the conflict that culminated in the duel. This figure was a master of manipulation, subtly influencing events to ensure the confrontation would serve their own hidden agenda. Their motivations were complex, driven not solely by loyalty to chaos, but by a personal ambition to ascend beyond mortal and demonic boundaries. They viewed the duel as a calculated gamble, one that would either solidify their position within the warp's hierarchy or lead to their undoing. Looming in the background were the unseen forces of the galaxy, whose influence shaped the destinies of both combatants. The ecclesiarchy, ever eager to elevate heroes to mythical status, had played a role in ensuring the Imperium's champion was revered even before the duel took place. Meanwhile, the dark gods of chaos watched with anticipation, their favor shifting between their champion and their rivals, their whims as unpredictable as the warp itself. These individuals and forces, each with their own strengths, flaws, and motivations, converged in a moment that would define the course of history. The duel was not merely the clash of two combatants, but the culmination of countless lives and choices, a tapestry woven from ambition, sacrifice, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. In their triumphs and failings, these figures became more than players in a galactic saga. They became symbols of the endless conflict that defines the galaxy. The legendary duel remains one of the most debated and enigmatic events in galactic history, not only for the scale of its impact, but for the lingering questions and conflicting accounts that surround it. Scholars, historians, and even those who witnessed its aftermath disagree on key aspects of the confrontation, fueling speculation and controversy that have persisted for millennia. One of the most contentious questions concerns the true nature of the Imperium's champion. While records describe a figure of unparalleled skill and resilience, some accounts suggest they were more than a mere warrior. Certain interpretations claim they bore enhancements beyond what was typical for even the most elite forces, while others posit that they wielded powers granted by divine intervention. The lack of consistent evidence has led to wild theories, ranging from their supposed ties to secretive factions to suggestions they were chosen directly by an unknown higher power. Similarly, the Chaos Champion's origins remain shrouded in mystery. Some believe they were a rising warlord whose ambition caught the attention of the Dark Gods, while others claim they were a fallen hero, their path to corruption obscured by myth and propaganda. A particularly controversial theory suggests the champion may not have been entirely loyal to Chaos, instead using the powers of the warp for their own ends. This idea is supported by fragmented accounts of their behavior during the battle, which some interpret as defiance rather than devotion to their demonic patrons. The duel's location, a ruined star fortress near a dying sun, also raises questions. How the combatants came to meet in such an isolated and symbolically charged setting has never been fully explained. Some argue it was chosen deliberately, the battlefield serving as a neutral ground far from the prying eyes of larger forces. Others suggest it was a coincidence, the result of a chance encounter during the chaos of war. A more esoteric theory posits that the location itself may have been significant, possibly tied to ancient events or hidden artifacts that played a role in shaping the confrontation. The exact sequence of events during the duel is another point of contention. While most sources agree on the general outline of the battle, significant discrepancies exist regarding its finer details. Some accounts emphasize the use of advanced technology and relic weaponry, while others claim supernatural forces heavily influenced the outcome. Eyewitness reports, where they exist, are often contradictory, with some describing a straightforward clash of skill and strength, while others recount phenomena that defy natural explanation, such as distortions in time and space, or the appearance of otherworldly entities. One of the most persistent mysteries is the fate of the Chaos Champion following their defeat. Official records state that they were utterly destroyed, their essence scattered across the warp. However, rumors persist that their defeat was not final. Some whisper that fragments of their being continue to exist, subtly influencing events in the galaxy, while others claim they were absorbed into the fabric of the warp, biding their time until they can return. This uncertainty has led to fear and vigilance among those who oppose Chaos, as well as fascination among its followers. The motives behind the duel also remain unclear. While it is often portrayed as a clash of ideologies, order versus chaos, there are indications that personal stakes may have played a significant role. Some believe the combatants shared a history, possibly as allies or rivals before their paths diverged. This theory is supported by cryptic references in surviving records that hint at a deeper connection between the two, though the specifics remain unknown. If true, it raises questions about the nature of their conflict and whether their duel was as inevitable as it seems. Another unresolved issue is the role of external forces in orchestrating the duel. Some suggest it was not a spontaneous confrontation, but the result of careful manipulation by unseen actors. The presence of both combatants in such a remote location at a critical moment has led to speculation that larger powers, whether mortal or divine, engineered the event to serve their own agendas. The involvement of enigmatic factions, or even the influence of the warp itself, are frequently cited in these theories, though no conclusive evidence has ever been uncovered. The duel's aftermath also raises questions. While its immediate impact on the galaxy is well documented, its long-term consequences are harder to discern. Some argue that the event marked a turning point in the ongoing struggle between order and chaos, tipping the balance in favor of one side. Others believe its significance has been exaggerated, suggesting that its legacy is more symbolic than practical. The continued debate over its true importance underscores the difficulty of interpreting an event so steeped in myth and legend. Finally, the relic weapon used by the Imperium's champion remains a source of intrigue. Though revered as a symbol of victory, its origins and ultimate fate are unclear. Some accounts claim it was a gift from an ancient civilization, while others describe it as a unique creation forged specifically for the duel. Its disappearance after the battle has fueled countless rumors, ranging from claims that it was lost in transit to theories that it was deliberately hidden to protect its power from falling into the wrong hands. These unanswered questions and conflicting theories ensure that the duel remains a subject of fascination, speculation, and debate. Its details, both known and unknown, continue to captivate the galaxy's inhabitants, serving as a reminder of the mysteries that persist even in a universe defined by constant conflict and chaos. The long-term consequences of the most legendary duel in the galaxy continue to shape the fabric of existence across countless star systems, influencing not only the factions directly involved, but also those that observed and reacted to the event. Its impact, felt over millennia, extends beyond the immediate aftermath, altering the trajectory of the galaxy's power dynamics, cultural narratives, and the collective psyche of its inhabitants. For the Imperium of Man, the duel became a defining moment in its ongoing struggle against external threats and internal decay. The victory, immortalized in both scripture and strategy, reinforced the belief in humanity's divine mandate to endure and dominate. This narrative galvanized the faithful, but it also introduced an element of complacency among some leadership circles. Over generations, the event was held up as proof that ultimate triumph was inevitable, leading to strategic missteps and an over-reliance on relics and myths to inspire loyalty rather than tangible advancements in military or societal resilience. The duel also spurred the proliferation of cult-like factions within the Imperium. These groups, inspired by the champion's actions, began to interpret their victory in ways that diverged from the central doctrines of the ecclesiarchy. Some saw the duel as a call to arms for humanity to embrace a more aggressive stance against its enemies, while others viewed it as a sign of divine protection, requiring no further effort on their part. These divergent interpretations occasionally led to conflict within the Imperium, straining its already tenuous unity. Among the forces of chaos, the duel became both a cautionary tale and a rallying cry. The defeat of their champion did not end their ambition. Instead, it deepened their resolve to retaliate. The dark gods, angered by the failure, began crafting more potent champions, each designed to eclipse their predecessor and rewrite the narrative of defeat into one of vengeance. These efforts introduced even greater instability to the galaxy, as new warbands and demonic entities emerged to challenge the balance of power. The legacy of the duel also had profound effects on other factions. The Eldar, ever attuned to the threads of fate, viewed the duel as a critical point in the galaxy's timeline. Their seers debated whether it had preserved a future worth fighting for or merely delayed an inevitable decline. This uncertainty led to divisions within their ranks, with some focusing on strategies to prevent such confrontations in the future, while others sought to exploit the weakened state of the Imperium and chaos to secure their own survival. For the Orcs, the duel represented an irresistible challenge. Stories of the battle spread rapidly through their ranks, becoming larger than life with each retelling. The idea of a confrontation even more spectacular than the legendary duel ignited the imaginations of countless war bosses, fueling new wahs that plunged sectors into chaos. While this posed an immediate threat to the galaxy, it also created opportunities for alliances of convenience among rival factions temporarily united against the Orc hordes. The Tau, ever pragmatic, studied the duel as a lesson in the psychological and symbolic dimensions of warfare. Their leaders recognized the power of narrative in rallying populations and inspiring loyalty, leading to an increased focus on propaganda and morale building within their own ranks. While the duel had little direct impact on their empire, it shaped their approach to future conflicts, emphasizing the importance of both military might and ideological cohesion. Speculation about the possibility of an even more legendary duel remains a topic of fascination across the galaxy. Scholars and strategists debate whether such an event could occur, given the unique convergence of circumstances that defined the original duel. Some argue that the galaxy's escalating conflicts and the emergence of increasingly powerful champions make it inevitable, while others contend that the original duel's symbolic weight cannot be surpassed. If another duel of such magnitude were to take place, its implications could be even more profound. The galaxy is more interconnected than ever, with factions increasingly aware of each other's movements and capabilities. A future confrontation of this scale could serve as a tipping point, either solidifying the dominance of one faction or plunging the galaxy into an era of unparalleled chaos. The stakes would likely be higher, with even more resources and lives invested in the outcome, amplifying both the risks and the rewards. The possibility of such an event also raises questions about its moral and philosophical implications. Would another legendary duel represent progress, or a regression to a reliance on singular figures to decide the fate of civilizations? Some fear that placing so much weight on individual combatants could undermine the collective efforts of entire societies, reducing complex struggles to mere spectacles. Others argue that such duels, while destructive, provide clarity and focus in an otherwise chaotic galaxy. Ultimately, the legendary duel serves as a reminder of the galaxy's inherent volatility and the power of individual actions to reshape history. Whether the galaxy moves toward another defining confrontation or learns from the lessons of the past remains uncertain. What is clear, however, is that the legacy of the duel continues to influence the galaxy's future, driving both hope and fear in equal measure. The question is not only whether the galaxy is prepared for another such event, but whether it can survive the consequences of what might follow.